So, welcome everyone to the Champagne Room Conversations, where we explore love and embodiment and living light through a real human dialogue. And today I'm especially excited because we are going to be talking about two of my favorite topics, love and God. I'm so honored to have a guest today, Ryan Rigoli, and I am going to do a proper introduction so that I don't miss anything. So, Ryan Rigoli is a spiritual executive coach, ordained monk, and pianist. He helps individuals and teams deepen their communication, access their inner wisdom, and live with greater purpose, presence, and peace. Clients often share that being in his presence helps them to awaken their hearts and be more fully themselves across all areas of their life. Ryan also channels meditative piano music designed to bring deep peace. You can find out more about his services and music at ryanrigoli.com, and I will make sure I'll post that as well. Thank you so much, Brian, for making time to talk about love and God.
Yes, two of my favorites too. So
Oh, good.
thank you. It's really nice to be here, Rika.
Yay. So great. Yeah, Ryan and I, we've known each other, I think like 15, 20 years. We started at the
Mhm,
oneness community and went to a same school, Foundation for
mhm,
Development, and now we are in celebrating life ministries. And I've been really enjoying Ryan's presence. I don't think we have ever really had like a in-depth conversation, but now is
yeah.
my chance. But I always so like this introduction mentioned, like just peace. And when I kept thinking about my next guest, I kept thinking about Ryan, and I really wanted to invite this just a different perspective to love, where God is present. And I have not talked about that in my previous interviews, so I can't wait to dive in and just hear what's your secret because you are just emanating peace and calm, and you are in a beautiful marriage, and God is in the center of your relationship. So I can just wait to ask you all these questions. And but I would like to start with, like, when you say monk and ordained monk, we tend to think that monk is somewhere isolated in a mountain, living alone and being just not in this world.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit what it is to be this modern day monk, and what is it like? And did you always know that you're going to be a monk?
Well, for that last question, I don't know. Maybe it's maybe way deep down. Um, yeah, so I am a monk, professed monk in a ministry celebrating life ministries, and I think monks have different vows, and different traditions, and many are in traditions where they are in a community of other monks, and they're celibate, and they take certain kinds of vows. Generally, I would say the commonality I've seen across monks of many traditions is prayer, and staying in cultivating a sense of prayer within oneself, cultivating prayer from the heart, um, a clear mind, and praying for others, whether that's specific people that need healing, praying for a community, praying for the world. Those are very common things I see across all monks. So the the monastic community I'm in is connected to the Benedictine order. We are more lay monks, and so I do have a partner, Miriam, and we've been in a relationship for 15 years. She's also in the ministry, and she's also a monk as well, and a minister. So we're both monks and ministers there. And um, I became a monk, I believe, let's see, 10, 11 years ago, something like that. First, I was a novice, which is the preparatory stage. Um, and for me, it's been a vow of connecting to the wholeness within myself, and to open my heart, cultivate an open heart, and to, like I said, pray. So I spend a lot of time praying, and that means that looks different for everyone based on tradition, based on one's own unique connection to the divine. But essentially, one way of thinking about prayer is it's a communion with the divine.
Mm,
Um, and there's an energy emanating from the heart.
mm,
And that's the main way that I experience it.
mm,
And so throughout the day, I do have specific times that I pray in the morning, and I pray for our community, and I pray for many different communities and
mm,
specific people. I pray for the world. And then throughout the day, my commitment to myself and to this particular ministry that we're in is to um, remember who I am, which is a divine emanation of God,
mm,
and that carries with it um, a certain frequency or certain energy. I think we all of us have different, like we're all like songs in a symphony, or songs or instruments in a symphony, let's say, and so I've just made a commitment to attune to the instruments that I am in this symphony,
mm.
and to stay connected to it as much as I can throughout the day. I am always falling down constantly, like everyone. But that commitment is,
Believe that.
was that?
I have a hard time believe that.
Oh no, I do.
I get it.
Yeah, believe me, yeah.
Yeah.
But the commitment is the most important thing, is how to come back from there. So if I'm angry or in fear or sadness or overwhelmed with the world, the commitment as a monk, as the way I hold it, is to come back to the essence of who I am, because everything I'm thinking and saying and is just vibrating out there, and it's contributing to the world. So um, I've made a commitment to be really tuned to what I am vibrating,
Mm,
through
mm,
my thoughts and the energy in my heart.
mm. That's so beautiful to be an instrument in a symphony, doing your part to have the song be more beautiful and whole and tuning your own instrument. I love that.
Mm,
So the word God is also very loaded, especially in this country. I hear a lot of people grew up being kind of traumatized by the church, and how is
yeah,
like easier for at least here in California to talk about spirit, like spirit and God. Like how can you tell me a little bit about the difference? Where is the anchor point when we talk about spirit, and where it is when we talk about really God, like the Christ consciousness? Like is there a difference there? Because I know the ministry is not, it's more interfaith, like everyone is what
yeah,
you already mentioned, the heart. So where's
yeah, yeah. That's a really good question. So yes, I'll come back to your question in a minute. But the ministry we're in is interfaith. It's focused on healing, and the essence of it is bringing a field of love
Mhm,
to the community, to the world, and it's really love that heals us. When we remember that we come from that essence, then something in us starts to heal, because we feel part of something where we come from, and healing to me is just a return to wholeness, and wholeness is what we are.
mhm,
So God and spirit. Well, I grew up a Catholic, and I think, like many folks, I didn't resonate with the theology of a lot of things that were talked about, and the way that people saw things. And it was very difficult for me to be in that tradition, yet I still felt something powerful behind all the belief systems. And I still felt very connected to Jesus, my whole life, and Buddha and many other masters that have been on the planet. Um, so I think my journey has been finding ways to connect with um, this essence that we come from, and other masters that have been here, and going around certain belief systems, frankly, so that I can
Mm,
have a more direct experience for myself, that's landing in my heart versus something that's a maybe a belief from the mind.
right.
So how would I describe God? I mean, my experience of God is has many there's many nuances and there's many forms because to me sometimes God is absolute stillness and like an emptiness. Sometimes the divine or God is a fullness of presence that feels like it's surrounding me and surrounding my heart and then emanating from my heart. So both an emptiness and a fullness can be at the same time, even. Um, I know that uh, I feel part of something bigger than just this body. So that's an experience of the divine to me. When I'm really in my heart center, I feel connected to other human beings, um, other life forms, the planet itself. To me, that's God. Um, you know, my experience of God is just so vast, it's hard to put a word on it, really. It's not I think many of us, probably even listeners of this call, don't necessarily see God as a being that's angry, right? That's an old construct that, served its purpose, whatever that purpose was. And we're all awaking out of that to
Hmm.
realize that we are God.
Yeah, that's
We are emanations of God.
yeah.
And there's no separation. So Christ consciousness to me is the same as unity consciousness. It's remembering that we are all aspects of the divine. And I think what's beautiful about that consciousness, the Christ consciousness, which Jesus embodied, um, is that it can hold polarity
Yeah.
without judgment, things that are opposite. It can hold opposite views. It can hold opposite perspectives. It can even hold light and dark, the way we perceive it, with a neutral tone,
Hmm.
because the divine is, God is holding all of it,
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
So Christ consciousness is that consciousness that allows me to be with everything, even the darkness.
I like that you're bringing that in because I just started to go to a Bible study because I haven't opened the Bible since I was 15 years old, and we're reading the gospel, and like Jesus was pretty badass. Like we always think Jesus was like so kind, and like the things that come out of his mouth are like not all like easy to hear, right? Like especially in that time.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that you're bringing that in. Like it's not just all love and light. It's the full spectrum of human experience, and yeah, so
yeah,
that's yeah,
yeah.
powerful.
He was pretty badass. Yeah, yeah. He. My sense and my experience, my direct experience with him is he really embodied that inner God authority. And so he did things that went against a lot of belief systems and societal constructs and habits, um, because he came to help us awaken,
Yeah.
really, versus, um, to observe the way he was living,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and to realize that we all have that within us, which he said. And so he was very clear.
Yeah.
And it was, love your enemy was not a very popular message at that time, and
Yeah.
still isn't.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult thing to do. But he does say in there, love God and love others as yourself, which means we need to love ourselves. It's very difficult to love anything unless we have this connection with the divine and can
Mm-hmm.
love everything, all the darkness. Then we can love another. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a difficult teaching, but it's profound.
It is difficult teaching. If it was difficult back then, what about now? Like, what's going on in our society right now? Like, wow, to implement Jesus's teachings, it's like next level, right? Because how can we love all this madness that is happening right now in this own country? So, I don't even need to name those things that are happening. We're all
Sure.
it's very palpable. So I think this
Hmm.
message is really timely. Like, wow, what would Jesus do?
Yeah. It's a beautiful message. It is very timely, and the message is timeless. And I think many of us saw the monks, the Walk for Peace um,
Yeah.
movement of energy. Really, all these monks walking across from Texas to DC, they were carrying that message beautifully. Of no matter what was happening, of really embodying that peace as best they can, being aware and blessing people, even people that were angry or afraid of them. I could
Mhm.
tell that they were still blessing them. And that's really the message, you know, that Jesus was sharing from this higher consciousness.
Right. And I think I battle with this. This is just kind of random thought that comes to me, but it's like, how do we how do we show up for these times and like have like because if you step into the third dimension, human level, there are opposites, right? There are sides. There is the bad guys and there are the good guys. And there, like how
Mhm,
do we, because there is this feedback often that happens from people if you are all like holding that Christ consciousness or holding that awareness of the monks, walking across the country, like there's almost like a judgment or kind of like oh you don't want to face what's happening, you're just going up there. Like how would you
mhm.
break that down, because that's not what it is about, but I haven't
Yeah,
learned how to explain what's happening.
it's a wonderful question. And I've been sitting with this question, and I have a very activist internal part of me, and I always have to really tune in what's true for me in this moment, because I know I'll be carried by the present when I stay true to what my mission is and purpose. And so, and everyone has a different purpose here,
Yeah.
and everyone has a different role to play. And some are going to be in prayer in a more traditional, still way, maybe in a monastery, all the way to the other spectrum of being in a march or a protest.
Hmm.
Um, and my practice is not to judge any of it, and just to keep looking internally and saying, well, what's my role here?
Mm.
Now, my my own perspective, so this is just my experience, the way I hold it is, and it probably because of my purpose and my vows as a monk, is to see the battle and the war that's happening inside of me,
Mm.
and to come to a place to really see what is battling, what's in conflict inside. Two opposing forces or multiple forces, multiple perspectives that are want to go in different directions, and to love them, to understand those parts, to invite acceptance into those parts within me that are maybe in conflict within, or want to do something outward, to be in conflict with another, and to bring acceptance to all of that,
Mm.
because everything out there that's in conflict right now, these sides, is a reflection of all the battle that's happening inside of us collectively.
Mm.
So I know just deep down that the role I'm playing is to resolve as much inner conflict as I can, so that my prayer life is more powerful, so that and serves more people, so that I can hear
Mhm.
what to actually do in any day, what to say, what not to say, um, how to support people, how to be of service. Because if there's ever any conflict in here, I cannot hear actually
Mm. Mm.
what the deeper divine voice is saying, um, that I'm in service to. So I'll give you an example, right? So let's say the ministry had a retreat last weekend, and um, and I read the news, probably more than I should. Just I'm really fascinated by it, and I'm always praying about it, and I'm curious to look at it to see how I can support, and also to look at energetically to see what's really happening here at a higher level. Um, and if I read too much, so I was of service at the retreat. I had certain roles as a musician and offering healings. If I read too much news, or I went into too much, which would get me ungrounded, then I could have gone into that healing event not being able to be of service to others because I was in too much conflict in here.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I'm always attuned to like where can I um how am I best how can I set myself best to radiate love no matter what's happening? And yes, maybe I'll be asked to share my view of something at some point, or in a group or whatnot, politically. But until that happens, the messages I've gotten are to um, allow myself to radiate peace because there are people, if nobody's anchoring the light here,
Mhm.
then we have a big swirl,
Mhm.
so there are a lot of us that are trying to find our own way into what's my part in all this, where
Mhm.
there are forces that are really dark
Mhm.
trying to destroy what I would call the Dharma or the truth.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. And those people are still children of God, but their actions are coming from such ignorance,
Mhm.
and such blindness and fear that it is destructive
Yeah.
for a higher purpose here on the planet. So I'm asking myself, how do I personally support that? And everyone's going to have to ask that question themselves, to answer that for themselves. So I think if I look at those monks that were traveling, that was tremendously difficult physically, mentally, emotionally, to look at to walk through the United States with all this conflict. I mean, they said they walked to places that had a tremendous amount of karma and, a lot of darkness. I forgot the exact words they used, and I could tell they were blessing all those locations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that takes a lot to be able to look within and not get caught in that energy of darkness because we can easily take it on like another suit
Mhm.
and wear this suit and forget that we're actually the light.
Yeah, it's like the saying, to be in this world but not of it, right? Isn't that, do you know where that saying came from? I forget. Was it Sufism or,
I don't know where it stems from.
but
In
that's
this
kind of
world,
comes
now
to
that
me
it
like,
feels like Jesus said it, but
right.
I get a sense that it came from multiple places.
But isn't that what it's about? Like we are in this world. Like we cannot deny that. We have a body, we came
Yeah,
here and so, but not be off it. I kind of refers to, what you've been talking about, like the belief systems that come almost with the body. We need to start shedding and
yeah,
being who we are behind and on the other side of that as an essence. Um,
yeah. Then I've been reading about our history, the U.S. history, quite a bit the last few months, and hold tremendous respect for those that did stand up,
yeah,
for rights of
right?
Black people and Native Americans and women, and
Totally.
the courage it took to do that and to do it with as much grace as they could and as much peace as they could.
So true. Like I do, like people who are on the streets right now protesting, I'm like, wow, those people are so badass. Like it's like let's go back to the original, see why are you here? What is your role in this? Some people pray, some people go on the streets and it's all we all need it, but I just look at them and it's like, wow, like that is such a powerful expression, to actually go and be against something.
Yeah.
And
So that what I would say is the most well, I look to people like Gandhi and Martin Luther King and Jesus and these people, many actually. Um, how do they hold? How do they stay connected to the light when there's so much opportunity to create more fighting, more judgment,
yeah.
more anger? And I'm not saying, I have anger and I process it, as best I can without putting it on someone. But I don't see these energies getting these patterns getting resolved on this planet until we can really look at them within ourselves and see how we're contributing to them or how we're neutralizing them,
Yeah.
you know. And so it really does take a higher consciousness and an ongoing cultivation of that
Hmm.
to go into situations where we're helping to raise the consciousness versus pour more fire onto the, fuel into the fire, let's say, that keeps it going because the dark energy likes that. It thrives on that fight, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of chewing on you. Like if you start that path, we all know what it is, right? Like you can get up in the morning and if you have that one thought that is not very supportive of your day or yourself or your own well-being and you stay with it, it's gonna chew you
Yeah,
up that day. And yeah,
yeah,
I love that you're bringing up the inner conflict. Like if there's something out there, it's just like, wow, listen, what's being in a battle here inside? And yeah.
yeah. If I bring that conflict out and I'm stirring in here, um, I know just personally I'm not helping to raise the consciousness
No, you
necessarily.
add into the
Yeah.
distortion because, yeah, no, that's such a good point. But it's so
And this is
hard.
difficult. It's very,
It's
very
so hard
difficult.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the work. This is why it's difficult.
Work. Yes.
Um, but Jesus' message was not easy.
I'm so glad that you're talking about this.
Yeah.
I've been wondering like, here are the leaf blowers again. But so I've been just wondering how to like even talk about this, like what's happening. And I think I always come back to God and always come back to love. So this is so great timing
Mhm.
having this conversation because last fall there was also the incident of Charlie Kirk and like that. Like I don't usually get involved with a lot of
Mhm.
like what's happening, but that one like took me on a total roller coaster and
Mhm.
I was surprised, and I think there was a piece there for me why it happened, but I was like fucked for 2 weeks. Like I was just like I couldn't
Mhm.
understand. And so there are events that are like can take us on a road, and it can be just a beautiful learning and healing experience as well in the end.
Mhm.
Like for me, it was just so hard to like uh, to see how people react to a killing uh, on a camera and how it almost became like a joke and
Mhm.
like not to even like talk about who did it or what if it was what but just the fact that people were looking at that incident the way they did just I broke my heart and I was like oh my God like what am I missing like it was very very difficult to
Yeah.
admit where we at as collective so
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a tragedy. And no matter what political views or views in general, religious views someone has, if they're different, um, it's still a child of God, you
yeah
know? And and that I think is what the Christ consciousness truly does, is it helps us see another as a brother or sister,
yeah
no matter if they have a different perspective on a faith, another faith, anything, and to really stay connected to that field of love beyond these competing perspectives.
yeah wow so beautiful shall we talk about baptism
Sure. Yeah, let's see that.
um since it's all part of this well I got baptized last spring and I can't wait to hear about your experience like you like because I haven't really talked about it with other people like it's such a
Mm,
personal thing but I just would love to hear your like what changed like did something change and what did change after your first I mean I think you got baptized as a child but I'm talking about the adult baptism
yeah.
how how did that um changed. And I know it doesn't like as an event, it doesn't change something overnight. It's almost like you're being put on a new path, and then
Hmm.
when the work start, you're committing to a new thing. But how was that for you? Like, can you tell a little bit about that whole, um, your vow to yourself and how that impacted you?
Sure. So I'll share that. Yes, I was baptized as a child. I don't remember it. And in our ministry, we do baptize people, and everyone has a very different and somewhat similar experience. So we went to Hawaii last year, which is where we were, and we baptized people in the water. And even people have different perceptions of what baptism is. And in our ministry, we allow everyone to have their own belief system, perception about it, and obviously direct experience. So it's interesting because I became a monk and a minister before getting baptized. I think oftentimes it's the other way around, but I felt a calling this time to make a deeper commitment. And that's what baptism is to me, is it's a vow or commitment to live in connection with the wholeness, with God within, every day. So it's not just an event to me. My experience of it was of a washing away of something that felt heavy in my heart. I don't even know if I could articulate why something was heavy or what it was exactly. It might have been subtle feelings of hopelessness about the world, or I didn't totally forgive myself for this person, that scenario. That a lot of things can contribute to that. But something felt a little heavy and beforehand, and I knew that doing it would cleanse something inside of me and bring more light in, or at least another way to say it is let more light out too. And so when I did it, my experience was of a presence, a warmth in my heart, of a presence surrounding me, um, of and knowing that I'm supported and loved and not here by myself, and that it was the beginning of another process. And I just felt almost like something else holding me. Like, to me, it's my experiences of baptism is it's a field of love, that or presence that knows itself as love,
Mm, mm,
and that we invite it in through witnesses to help me remember that I'm a field of love,
yeah.
you know. And so the vow is remembrance,
Mm,
is
mm,
to remember that. And anytime we make a real commitment or vow to the universe, it'll support us. It'll mirror back to us if we're not living in alignment to that. And it also offers support through spirit guides, through other people, through a presence that helps us stay in alignment with that. So I think afterwards, I just experienced like a glow or a lightness, something that was just holding a bigger version of me to come out. Yeah. And then over time, I felt almost like my version of God started dissolving, even, old versions of God that are unconscious in there. Um, it's hard to put words to a lot of things. Things just start dissolving.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, because it really shatters. If we allow it, it can shatter the ego identity and the way we make meaning of things. And
Mhm.
then it goes to a bigger version, and then the next time goes to a bigger version. So yeah, for me, the baptism, it has lasted till now. I could still feel it's like a symphony that's playing in the background.
Mm,
And if I forget it, I lose the symphony. I don't hear it. But if I remember it, say, oh yeah, there's that vow, and I took that connection, that strong connection. It comes forward, and I can feel it.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like the soundtrack, like I like the background tone. That's where you can tap in.
Yeah.
I also,
What was your experience?
well, um I was going to say remembrance, like remembering something that I remember from even from my childhood. Like I always had a very really good connection with God. I was always talking to God, like God was my best friend. I was in a very kind of turmoil family situation ever since, I was little. And so I used to pray every night for God
Mm.
to 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 have a peaceful night, basically, because nights weren't always peaceful. Like I literally asked
Yeah.
God to like just let us sleep, like hope there's no
Yeah.
no chaos tonight and we can all sleep. But the
Mm.
baptism was really like almost like calling back old friend that you haven't called. Like you feel kind of bad that you haven't connected for a while, and like then you pick up the phone and you call the friend. It was that level of like relief of like like returning, turning, like orienting towards that again. And it
Mm.
wasn't like, oh my God, it was more like this open secret, like this quiet, like quite like little like inside secret, like within me that wow, something changed, but nobody knows. And like it was like this very tender thing. And I love our community so much. I love that we did it in the ocean. So when I forget, when I go into the dark alleys in my mind, I think about the water. I think about the turquoise water and people's eyes, around me, like how everybody was doing it together. There was just such a, so that brings me right back into that moment.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah, it was really profound to do it with that many people at once, 50, 60 or more. We haven't done that before. And
Yeah.
this, just for the people listening, this was in the big island of Hawaii. This year we'll do it in Maui in April again. But there was something profound to have that many people with that intention and that level of openness in their heart. And I think that made the field bigger. Is that your experience too?
It was definitely my experience too. There's this part of me, I'm gonna just be very honest. In our retreats, when one person get only baptized, there is a certain also like a very different power that comes because there's
Uh,
a like the energy is coming at one person.
right, right.
Almost feels like more powerful because of that intentionality. And I love that I did it in a group, and yet I almost felt like um it was just kind of a little bit overwhelming for me.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Also because the sun and the ocean, like I couldn't stay there. I had to go back to the hotel room wet and by myself. So I felt, because I'm very sensitive, to getting sunstroke.
Yeah,
So it was a little chaotic for me, but then again, the seed was planted and it was growing and growing and growing, and it didn't matter obviously where it happened and how and who did it, but it was more like,
yeah.
okay, whoa, that was a little overwhelming. But I would do it again.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was amazing. So
Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I love hearing these different perspectives.
wow.
Yeah.
So okay, let's talk about relationships.
Okay.
Since the champagne room is
Okay.
relationship to God is the primary. I do feel it is a relationship, but I'd like to talk about you and your wife. Are you married? You're married.
We're not, we're partners, but it's
Oh,
a
okay.
spiritual marriage. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been also listening to this
Yeah.
Instagram. I forget his name, but he's talking about marriage versus spiritual partnership,
Yeah.
and so I wanted to talk about that too. But I would love
Okay.
to more maybe focus on you too, and like knowing that you both have done this vow. Like vow is often thought about as a marriage vows, like two people promise to be there for each other.
Mhm.
And so when two people have a vow to God and not officially to themselves, to each other, I mean,
Mhm.
how is that? Like how, because for me personally, my past relationships, I often had a hard time holding my own my own commitment to God and my vow, because I always felt like I'm going to be somehow like missing out. Like I have to orient to the man,
Mhm.
like instead of my own
Uh-huh.
purpose. And that's taken from for years to feel safe enough to actually commit to my own reason for being here and also have a partner. And so how does it show up in your lovingness, the baptism? Like how do you when there's a God between you two, can you talk about that? Like all the beautiful things and all the challenges, like when you are in this, not so glamorous moments, like how do you navigate through that?
Yeah, that's a lot of really beautiful questions there.
Pick any one of those or all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, I'm going to speak from my own experience, and everyone has everyone's relationships can be very different. Everyone's intention going into a relationship can be different. The intention can evolve in the relationship. With Miriam and myself, um, we kind of knew we were friends first for a year, and I think there was a subtle knowing that if we got into a relationship, it would be different than the normal relationship, kind of thing. And so there was a hesitancy, at least on my part,
Very
and
honest.
hers too. Yeah. Because we knew we had a very deep soul connection. And I think we also knew that this kind of relationship would be about awakening. Um, and that takes a certain level of inner integrity and staying connected to the truth and to God as a bigger force, to stay in and to be in something like that. So, but at some point, it became very clear that our intention to be in a relationship was here to pretty much birth ourselves, into our purpose, our God selves, and so we did go into it, not knowing the intensity of how much I would have to look inside. I think again we sensed it, but sensing something and maybe intuitively seeing something is different than actually experiencing it,
Right.
day after day. Um, so it became pretty clear, and we got some guidance on this too from some mentors, that this was a spiritual partnership, you know, and it required a really strong connection to the divine, to build a relationship to the divine within us. It required a lot of self-love, required a lot of awareness, and it required us to remember over and over again what we're really doing together. That there's a higher purpose here, which like we're in the refiner's fire, becoming diamonds.
Mhm.
And so, um, the I can always feel there's different versions of us, right? There's the cosmic version of us, which is beautiful and amazing, and it's beyond the body. It's just you can just feel this cosmic connection that she and I have, and where we can really see each other's spirit and what we're here for, and how we're helping communities, humanity, each other. And then there's other versions, right? There's the child and the wounded child and the intellect
Both
and all the
powerful.
conditioning and of family and lineage. And um, so all that came into play. And she and I are very opposite in some ways in terms of personality and in terms of the way we process things. And even our purpose is somewhat different. We still have the purpose of awakening and supporting awakening on the planet, but the way we go, the way that the divine uses us is still different. You
Right.
know,
That makes sense.
you might notice that at an event when she's doing a prayer, it comes in a certain way for
Uh-huh.
her.
Yeah.
She's led a lot of events, and it's just this like huge thing that
Yes.
comes in, right? And then if I do it, it's hard for me to describe what other people's experience, but it has a different flavor of the divine, you know.
Hmm.
And also our personalities are different. Um, so for us, the spiritual partnership has always been the key thing, because when we connect to that, then we remember why we're here and in it. And the marriage, I don't think I was ready, and she can speak for herself, probably similar, to make a vow of marriage beforehand because it came for us. It's not for other people necessarily, but for us, it could come with a lot of conditioning or traditional roles, you know, or the way marriage is supposed to look,
Right.
or supposed to go. And I think for us, because our spiritual partnership and the intention of it was so strong,
Yeah.
that for me anyway, I didn't know how to hold both of them.
Hmm.
And so, um, and still stay connected to the intention of the spiritual partnership. So that's why we haven't gotten married at the moment, and that may change
Yeah.
if we hear something different. But we've been together 15 years, and yes, there have been very difficult times, times we didn't know we would be together, many times. Are we
Mhm.
diverging? Are we going on different paths? Or is this pattern I have bringing up too much for her, or vice versa?
So how did you go about that moment? Like, if you can recall that moment, or if it's just a kind of day to day, even little differences, like how do you hold that presence and that commitment and that vow while you hold your inner child? And maybe it wasn't even an inner child thing or a wound. Maybe it was just like, wow, are our paths going separate ways? Like, how do you hold it in that
Yeah.
moment?
Okay. So I would say that our commitment, and we're not always at all perfect at this, but the commitment is taking full responsibility for everything going on inside of here. So if I get triggered, that's something for me to look at and to heal, and to really watch if I want to blame or project, or make a wrong, or whatever that is. And that can happen a lot, right? In any relationship, there's something in us that can feel so much fear and shame and fear of vulnerability, fear of being really open hearted, because when we're kids, it's very difficult. We just come as an open heart. We have very small nervous systems, and we're this big heart, and not everyone's playing nice.
Yeah.
Parents, friends, society, right? And
You
this gets very hurt. And so
yeah.
we create a lot of strategies to keep it closed. So in a relationship like this, if the intention is to awaken and to actually see the truth of who I am and awaken into a bigger version of myself, and vice versa, we're just going to have stuff come up. We're going to bump up against each other, you know. And the first thing is really to take responsibility for my whole inner world, all my perceptions, all my stories. Um, and that's very difficult to do without a practice of loving kindness,
Yeah.
because it's going to bring up so much in our field, so much darkness. It can, that it's really easy to think it's about the other person.
Isn't it? It's so hard. And I had a Derek Hart here as one of my guests too at the in the champagne room, and we talked about this a little bit. And I think in that moment, it's really, when you say taking responsibility, I think it's really just simply owning what you're feeling in the moment, right? Like it, it, it can be extremely hard, but that's the shortcut to like coming back
Yeah,
together. Wow, I am feeling scared. And it's so seems so like 101, but it's actually hard and it's very easy to forget in that moment. So instead of going into this is kind of what I was curious about in such a highly committed, God-centered relationship that you two have is like my experience is that it's also easy to kind of bypass a lot of the hard stuff and use the spirituality as like everything is okay when everything is so not okay. So that's kind of like where the rubber
okay.
meets the road,
Yeah, this is a great question. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so I'll share a little bit. I'm glad you brought this up. I mean, to me, spirituality is truth. It's the quest for truth. And so I've, a quick anecdote. Early on in our relationship, maybe it's 2 years in, one of our mentors said to me, "You're not being vulnerable enough." I'm like, "I'm not being vulnerable enough."
I
I've taken courses on how to communicate,
I
and
read
I read the books, and I say, "Hey, when you did this, this is what happened," all this sort of formulas, right? Like I'm
Oh,
doing all that stuff. She's like, no, you're not. You are, but you're still not vulnerable, being vulnerable enough. So I really took it in because I could feel something. She was seeing something. And it gets to what you're saying is in the moment is really where um, the gold is, and is really where the repair can happen. Sometimes there are times when we need to separate, but even so, if I have learned how to say, I'm I'm so afraid right now um, of even just saying something, and this has nothing to do with you, but I'm so afraid to say something right now. Like my heart is pounding, and I have a clump in my throat, and I'm afraid to both to walk away and take space and to face this in this moment. That's the most present thing I could say. I'm having judgment of myself and shame come up that I don't even know what to do right now. So that's the level of vulnerability that she was speaking to me about, which it took a lot of practice and a lot of. I don't think I learned how to. I don't know. I didn't learn that from a course. I just came naturally over time to say, just be honest about what's happening. Oh, I have shame right now. I have shame and judgment that I think I'm really going to mess this thing up. That I'm a failure, that I can't even face what I just said before. I
yeah.
just slammed the table again, poor table. And because I had so much anger coming up, and I'm so really, really, I'm just really afraid. And and it wouldn't always come out that eloquently like I'm doing right now. That everything I just said might have to come out in little spurts, over a couple minutes. Um, and anger is something that I've definitely had to work on.
Hmm.
Um, and really face, is like this is like a demon, and it's being in a relationship is ego shattering.
Hmm.
It's really ego shattering. It shatters all the perceptions of myself. So that's the level of vulnerability that I think we've had to get to, and that's really what one of the few things. There's a few things, but that's one of the most important. Besides self-responsibility, is can I actually? What is the most true thing in this moment that I can own that has nothing to do with them? And it's oftentimes I have shame. I'm terrified right now. And I have so much anger, I don't even know what to do with it. And I'm afraid I'm going to hurt us both verbally, not physically, verbally. It's just going to emanate out of me.
Right, right. I mean, Ryan, thank you so much for being so honest and vulnerable at this moment and sharing because we all know that place and I think we as a community want to and need to talk about more about that particular moment because it is really the game changer and yes, anger is, not cool to put it out, but it's also not cool to put it in, like towards ourselves. So
For ourselves. Yeah, that's really what's going on.
that's
Is
inflammation, that's arthritis,
yeah,
that's like turns into our own physical
yeah,
too. And so anger is not the enemy. It's the not expressing it and not talking about it is.
yeah. There's so much. Thanks for saying that, Rika. It's like there's so much. I think we're all conditioned to have a lot of self-hatred and to keep it going, that we have to be perfect and a relationship needs to look this way. Um, or I need to be certain way all the time, et cetera, et cetera. And that just engenders more self-hatred, all
Yeah.
these perfectionist
Yeah.
tendencies.
They're like, oh my
Um,
God, we're holding it in and we're not telling the truth. And uh yeah, it's just
yeah. So that's why we have so much war, right? Because it's all this, all the
yeah.
war is fear and self-hatred, essentially. So um, I have noticed over time that, so I talked about self-responsibility, owning literally what's in the moment and sharing that, finding ways to share that in a very safe way for each other. And a third thing is having this relationship with the divine um, in different ways so that I don't feel and she doesn't feel alone in this,
Yeah.
because really a lot of relationships go south because something in us feels very alone. we think we're feeling this, experiencing this ourselves, and nobody else is. We're alone in what we're feeling. We're alone with our thoughts. And I've done, and she has done as much as possible to realize that we're not alone in this relationship. We have mentors, we have spiritual guides in spirit, we have the divine in our heart. We have healing events that help to shift parts of our brain, right, in our heart that awaken to higher consciousness. So that over time, the the more difficult charges that have come up go very quickly now. They don't last for hours anymore. And sometimes not even minutes, they just move through. But we have to really be very aware so that we're not in a war, you know, because something in us is terrified of being powerless, you know, and we're terrified of being dominated, you know, that game of the fear of being dominated or the need to dominate or be right or the other person's wrong. So they're just part of the ego. And so we're constantly attuning to when something in us is starting to feel the fear of powerlessness
Hmm.
and just being very honest about that.
That is so beautiful. Wow. Mm. Yeah. Relationships. They definitely are the crash course, huh? Getting us on our knees.
I would say it's the most rewarding and the deepest spiritual path I've had. Obviously we're in different communities, different um, lots of retreats, a lot of processes, a lot of looking inward. But if you're in a relationship and the intention is to really grow into more of your fullness and to support the other in growing into more of their fullness, and you have a lot of stuff coming up, it's a refiner's fire. It is the deepest form or process I've had of spiritual development by far.
It really is. Would you have any words of support for couples who might be in a different place with God and understanding the higher power and let's say maybe one person is more their antenna is up to reaching answers within or God and actually naming God, and maybe the other person is atheist. Like how would you
Yeah,
what kind of love would you bring into that conflict if there's a conflict, and often there is because our values
yeah.
are so different.
Something I've um, experienced in a helpful way over time is finding a practice of appreciation for Miriam. So it goes beyond, calling in guides and talking about God and monk vows and being of service in the world, all this stuff, right? It's just I want to cultivate a practice of just appreciating all these aspects of her and what she does and who she is in ways that maybe I haven't seen before,
Hmm.
you know? And so I think that just started growing over time, and the rewards of that are really powerful. Like, what's an example? She was doing a um, a retreat, few day retreat the other week, and I wasn't doing that one. I was doing something else with celebrating life, and she was too. But I just she's like, "Can you get some flowers at the store? So she can have that on her altar." And I just went. I just bought like 7 bouquets of flowers because I just felt my heart wanted to for her to be supported and taken care of, right? And I didn't expect anything, and then she bought. I mean, we don't give each other Valentine's things, but she gave me the next day, this little Valentine's thing, and it's not an expectation. We don't really celebrate these kinds of holidays, but it just came from her heart, you
Yeah.
know. And then left little post-it notes, you're amazing and all this stuff. And those things can sound silly or kind of like, is that going to work? Or, but we've had practices like that over time of just creating little post-it notes for each other. Simple. Like, I appreciate you. Thanks for getting the groceries. Thanks for cleaning the dishes. Whether it's on a note or just verbalizing it. Um, because our lives can get so transactional with everything, with deadlines and even made up deadlines and trying to pay bills and all that. And it's easy for this to close because all the fear comes in, right? So again, there's no God. I'm not speaking about God right now. So it's easy for this to close. And what helps is to notice, oh, this is something in here is closing, right? I'm feeling a little bit disconnected from my partner, from myself, and just finding ways that this can open and soften just through breath to open, whether it's going in nature for a moment or appreciating or anything, any practice that can help this open. Because
Mm,
then we start to see with different eyes and we start to feel with a different kind of heart.
yeah.
And it's not about my spirituality or you don't have a spirituality or any of that stuff. This is just really human to human, two human beings um, wanting to be open to each other.
That
Yeah,
moment,
that's all.
even God is secondary after that because there is an expression of God right in front of you. So
Yeah,
use,
yeah.
let's
That is God. Like
use,
that's to me, that's God, right?
that is
We
so
just take
God.
all the words out and just say, what's actually real here is I don't want to be I don't have a closed heart anymore,
Yeah.
right? It just
And you
hurts.
don't feel God,
Yeah,
like everybody's missing out,
yeah.
including ourselves.
So
Yeah.
I would say the best practice is find a way to soften
Mm. Hmm.
anything that can help you soften
That's
so
beautiful.
that this has a chance to breathe. The heart has a chance to breathe. And then you can connect on a different level.
I really love that. Like finding that same tone and so you can speak the same language, which is this and not the concepts and belief systems and
Yeah.
is there God, isn't there God?
Yeah. Yeah. That's all here.
Yeah.
You know, we're moving as a society to down to here. And when we're here, we connect to a bigger divine mind. But we have to really learn how to heal this and get into contact with something actually that's real,
Hmm.
you know, out of the mind,
That is
out
so
of the
beautiful.
egoic mind. Yeah.
That's great. Wow, I'm loving this. I'm gonna look at my notes because I don't want to miss anything.
Okay.
Um, um, so just to touch upon masculinity and leadership, since you are executive coach, amongst all these, more sacred roles, and not that it's
Mhm.
sacred, but how does like masculinity and leadership in love, like how does that go together? Power versus force, the masculine versus like how does yeah, that's there is no question really because I don't know how to formulate it, but
That was a good question. Yeah, I can feel that what you're putting up. So, well, what I'll say is that executive coaching can have a lot of different meanings to it. People can have a lot of different associations. It can mean a lot of things. It could look a lot of ways. It's just a word for me. I don't know what else to call it. I tend to work with people from executives all the way to people that are not executives, just people having relationship challenges, you know? Um, uh, what, we all have different gifts, and those start to come alive over time if we really cultivate them. And one of mine I've noticed is, at least why I'm here, is to help people feel their heart more, to have access to that heart space, which brings a lot more clarity, a lot more inner knowingness, intuition or inner knowingness. Um, it can start opening up the voice, where you can start feeling more at ease speaking what's true for you in a compassionate way, being very direct but compassionate. Um, there's a way that you can start to see and attune to people's challenges more, attune to the other person more. Um, so really working on this area has a lot of benefits for really all relationships, and in particular, couples, but in particular in business. So the way that spirituality comes in is, if I were to define spirituality as just remembering who we are. It's just remembering, whether you want to call it spirit or our essential nature or something bigger than the body, or just feel myself. I'm just helping folks to feel their own sense of empowerment, getting in a space where they can feel safe to share things that are difficult, um, to get something off their chest, to see from a bigger perspective, um, to process emotions through, to see clearly, oh, this is really the right decision. I'm really hearing intuitively this is the right thing. And that's all spiritual for me, because spirituality, again, is remembering. It's a remembrance that we're something much bigger. Um, and so that's the way I work. The way love comes in, I would say, is the same thing. It's just, remembrance is about seeing truth and remembering that we are a field of love.
Mhm.
And when people can do that as leaders, there's a lot more potential to stay true to the purpose of a company, to be a really much more empathic leader, um, to hear feedback, to grow a company, to emanate, to really, as leaders, sometimes we don't realize like how much is emanating through the whole organization by what we're doing, saying, thinking. The leadership circle is very influenced and influential. Um, so it's not fluffy at all. It's like everything else we talked about. It's really facing the
Mhm.
truth of who we are, taking full responsibility, and seeing, what is it I'm really creating here?
Right.
What's my part in this creation? And what's the potential if I get into a different state of being,
Mhm.
in a
Mhm.
state of being that's not so afraid, that has more of a peace, not a sleep kind of peace, but a very awake kind of peace, very conscious,
That
peace
is,
beyond, fear.
yeah, that is such a important work. I mean, if we had leaders, not just in companies, but government, like who would lead with that awareness, that's all we're praying for. But
Yeah.
really seeing the heart of the company, like tapping into the heart of the company, like not from ego, but from listening and kind of asking, what is the bigger picture, and seeing the whole company as one, right? Like the oneness, like everybody's
Hmm.
playing a part. That's so amazing.
If I can touch on one more thing too, you asked about masculinity, and I think it's
Yeah.
a big topic right now. Because there's a lot of distortion. We all have masculine, feminine attributes in us. Um, and there's a lot of distortion. Um, those attributes get distorted. Like, we're all gold. We have a divine masculine, divine feminine energy, which have certain qualities, and they get covered up. And the masculine right now obviously is very distorted, that we see. Um, and the feminine is birthing through. And we need this divine dance to actually work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Males, females, males, males, females, females. We just, for the functioning of our society, really, our humanity. So, well, these are just words, but to me, a healthy masculine, the way I've experienced it, if I put the word masculine on it, is stillness. Um, Meaning I can be, um, more okay to see the dark parts in myself, to bring acceptance here, and to move into greater stillness, so that, um, the feminine part of me can come out and do, and from a place of flow,
Mhm.
that could come out and play, that can come out and create, that can come out and do whatever. So I'm just, we can use different terms, but if I use it in this way, masculine and feminine, masculine, the way I hold it, is a stillness and an intentionality. And the feminine is moving in the world and creating things, And so the feminine in me has, if I'm not still inside myself and I have inner conflict and I'm not clear in my intention, there's something in me that's really hesitant. I've been afraid of speaking my whole life and I don't feel safe,
Mhm.
right? I don't want to go and speak, do talks, which I'm always asked to do, and I don't want to do that. It's because something in me is not still yet. That masculine is still afraid, you know?
Yes.
And that could be a distortion, but it's okay. I just learned to accept that and love that. If it gets too distorted, then I start controlling
Mhm.
because I can't be in stillness.
I love that we're coming back into the very early where we talk about the monks and like what's inside of me in war and what's outside. Like we're coming back to that. Like if there is just talking traditionally man and woman relationship, like for example, if a man is having a hard time with their partner, it's like, okay, what's out of balance with my own, whether it's the masculine side or the feminine side, right? Like
Hmm.
if the masculine is the stillness, which makes sense, the woman is the indulgence. It can be triggering for the man to deal with the the feminine side of himself if he hasn't made
Hmm.
peace with his own being out of control, whatever the
Sure.
words we use for the feminine
Yeah.
is. But also in our culture, like the Eastern tradition, from India came to the West first, and it's all about the masculine. Can you meditate yourself to death? Like, can you just like find the point and not move? And can you so like upright and masculine? But we forget that the shamanic cultures that they didn't get to the West before the Eastern,
Right.
it's all about
Yeah.
indulgence. It's all about senses. It's all about like reaching the point where you cannot anymore like move faster and then you collapse to the 0 point. From that,
Yeah.
they both go into the same place, different ways. And right, and
Yeah.
we just learn to like, because I saw a lot of women thriving to be this when it can actually compromise a lot of their physical health because we're not. I mean, we're both, but we are in a form of women's body. Like we're not, we move differently, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it goes both ways. Like men
Yeah.
being more of this when they ask to be this, and so it's just a fascinating. Maybe we need to have a whole other call about this because it's such a polarity when it's not even polarity.
Yeah.
But it's the
It's
inner.
a fascinating topic. I'm still learning about it as well.
Yeah.
Um, you know, because I think there's so much conditioning we all have that makes it difficult just to be with the energy moving through
Yes.
in a
It
natural way. Yeah.
right? It's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
out of control. Oh my God, I'm feeling all these feelings, and let's find a way not to feel all that and come back to. And I grew up with that too. Like, obviously from Finland, we don't even talk.
Mhm.
Like we don't. We're very
Yeah.
like this kind of culture and reserved and. But yeah, like how can we like massage the interior enough to not be leaning either direction too much, but just own both
Yeah.
beauty and both of sides of the beauty.
I think it's a great question. My my sense is everyone needs to find their own way with this that cultivates different divine qualities of the divine, you
Yes.
know, and find maybe where we're um, um, leaning too much in one and losing out on another one, imbalance, let's say. You know,
Mhm.
it's one reason I play the piano is because it helps me be in flow
Yeah.
and to get out of in an unpredictable way. Like
Yes.
I don't know where my fingers are going to go or any of that stuff.
It is
But
so.
I have to be in a lot of stillness for
Oh,
that kind of thing.
yeah.
Other
I
people might cook or dance or whatnot, and um, find their own way to bring these qualities of the divine out. But there's a lot of I think um, judgments, let's say, we have of ourselves and suppression that we have of ourselves, and that just creates more tension and illness, frankly. So I think it's a self-discovery, really like cultivating different qualities that can live together at the same
totally,
time.
totally.
Awareness can live with compassion, and
Mhm.
expression can live with inner stillness, and how can we be with both? I do think that's where the Christ energy helps, or the unity consciousness helps, because it allows for seemingly opposite energies to live together without competing.
It's so true. And that's where the answer often lies. If you ever between, like if you're in a dilemma, I think, was it Rilke or one of these amazing poets wrote this poem where you need to hold the opposites, and that the third emerges from that tension. But I
Yeah,
think a lot of us have lost that muscle where we can be okay with the opposites, and we just want to like rush into this or that. And instead of like, okay, let me sit with this a day or two or a week or a year and see what merges.
yeah.
We don't have
That, I
that
love.
patience anymore. We just
Yeah,
want to push the button and get it done.
yeah, Don. Yeah, because that you just sparked something. There's going to be polarity, right? We're in a universe of polarity.
Yes.
The challenge is we're in conflict with the polarity. Yeah. So how can we, as we evolve and make a commitment, we could actually be in harmony with the polarity. And then there's so many more things that can birth from this planet.
I love this. I love this whole thing here. This is such a beautiful conversation. Can we end with um, there is this prayer or invocation called "Use Me." I often say that before
Mm.
sessions with clients. And use. So, how would you translate that into a sacred, intimate partnership? How would that translate inside a relationship, that invocation, use me?
Oh, it could be help me let love do what love does and get out of the way.
Mm, that is so beautiful. I feel that. I would like to end with a little poem by Hafiz. Unless, would you have any last words of blessing? Um, Can we find your music also on your website? I will make sure I'll
Yeah,
type it out also. Any other ways
yeah,
that we can reach you, or that you would, um, want the listeners to depart with?
sure. Yeah. My website, you can find all my services and music there. It also, for music, it'll direct you to different platforms like Spotify and all that. But you can reach out to me. You can find my email address, or fill out a form and just reach out, from just go to the website. Um, let's see. And I do coaching sessions and prayer sessions with people, and bring meditation, and it's really helping to cultivate and remember who we are, as beings here. And maybe that's really the final message is, um, no one's above anyone. We're all playing this game here, and we all have permission to really explore the fullness of who we are, if we allow ourselves, to remember the beauty of who we are, and the presence that we are, the stillness that we are, the peace, the joy, all of it. We're here to really bring that fullness forward. And I, I pray that everyone here can let that heart soften and experience um, what that really is for you, and to bring that to others in your relationships, your communities, and really feel that love in your heart that brings you alive. So I can leave it at that and say an amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for your service and this beautiful conversation and blessing. I really grateful for you, Ryan. So,
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Rika.
yay. Let me finish with the poem. I think this is
Okay.
beautiful way of bringing that devotion into a relationship. And many of you probably know this. It's by Hafiz. It happens all the time in heaven. And someday it will begin to happen again on earth. That men and women who are married, and men who are lovers, and women who give each other light, often get down on their knees, and while so tenderly holding their lover's hand, with tears in their eyes, will sincerely speak, saying, "My dear, how can I be more loving to you? How can I be more kind?" Thank you.
That is going to bring tears to me after I hang up. I can